guys, it's Miss Maxud here. Wishing I could be with you, but I can't. So, we're going to talk about the distance formula today. And you'll see in the past that in order to find the distance between 2 points on a graph, we use the Pythagorean theorem. So if we were looking for the distance between A and B, we would draw on the right triangle and make AB the hypotenuse, draw on a right triangle, and then apply the Pythagorean theorem, which would give us 6 squared plus 6 squared, which is 72. And then we would see that the square root of 72 is approximately 8.5. All right, so we've been doing that. But now we're going to make it a little bit easier. We're going to use what's called the distance formula. It's derived from the Pythagorean theorem, but it's a little bit easier to use. So let's say we have 2 points, A and B, and A is at 1, 1, and B is at 6, 7. The first thing you're going to do is subtract the x values and square it. So in this case, we're going to have 6 minus 1 squared, which is 5 squared, or 25. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is do the same thing but to the y's. So we're going to subtract the y values and square it. So 7 minus 1 squared is 6 squared, or 36. Okay, so all we've done is subtract the x's and squared it, subtract the y's and squared it. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is add up the two numbers that we squared, and then we're going to take the square root. So in our case, we're going to have 25 plus 36 is 61, and then we're going to take the square root of 61. And here I went through, and we're going to approximate the square root of 61, which is that equal sign that's like a little squiggly, and that gives us approximately 7.8. Okay, so 3 steps. Now, we can write the distance formula as one equation to find distance. If this equation looks like too much, just go back and do the 3 steps. It does exactly the same thing, whether you put it in the formula or if you do the 3 steps separately. You'll come up with the same answer. So it is derived from the Pythagorean theorem. It looks, I don't know, kind of always reminds me of finding the slope, which also comes from the Pythagorean theorem. So anyway, let's look at an example. So we have point A, which is at -2, -3, and point B, which is at 2, 3. So I'm writing in the theorem again up for you at the top, or I should say the formula. So we're going to do 2, right? I labeled what's x1, y1, x2, y2. So it's going to be 2 minus -2 plus 3 minus -3, each of those squared. So you take the x's, subtract them, and you get 4. Take the y's and subtract them, and you get the 6. Sorry, I made a mistake there. I had to go back. 4 squared plus 6 squared is 52. You take the square root of that, and you get approximately 7.2. Okay, so 2 minus -2 squared plus 3 minus -3 squared. That gives you 4 squared plus 6 squared, which is 16 plus 36, which is 52. You take the square root of that, and you get approximately 7.2. Okay, here's another example. This time you're not going to give a picture. You're going to just be given the words. And you'll see this maybe on the M step, or definitely when you get to Algebra 1. It'll say find the distance between 2 points, and say 1, 4, and 3, -6. So we're just going to plug it into the distance formula. 3 minus 1 squared plus -6 minus 4 squared. So you're taking your change of your x's, squared it, change of your y's, and squared it. So we're going to have 2 squared plus negative 10 squared gives you 4 plus 100, which gives you 104. You take the square root of that, and you get approximately 10.2. So either way you want to do it, if you want to go through the 3 steps and do it separately, or if you want to put it all into the distance equation and go through that way, just be really careful of your signs. Make sure you're subtracting the x's and subtracting the y's. Remember that you can never have a negative distance. So if you put something in and you end up with a negative number, you know, you need to go through and check and see what happened. And lastly, when you take the square root of a number, you get rid of that square root sign. So once you take the square root of 104, your answer is approximately 10.2, and the square root sign is gone. So I'm going to give you guys some practice with this. Again, it's a really important formula to know. And take care. I'll see you all soon.